And let's focus on it and
why,
understand our responsibility.
Why will it be successful this time if it wasn't in the past?
Well, I think there was success about what happened in the past. And again, when you look at what we're doing now, you're seeing progress. And so let's not overlook progress.
Just quickly put a button.
Okay.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Well, I mentioned it because I know Republicans have certainly come at you on this, but Democratic Congressman Cuellar has a border district, has said to you and the president, come. You need to see this.
Listen, I care about what's happening at the border. I'm in Guatemala because my focus is dealing with the root causes of migration. There may be some who think that that is not important, but it is my firm belief that if we care about what's happening at the border, we better care about the root causes and address them. And so that's what I'm doing.
As mentioned, the vice president wraps up her trip in Mexico today, where she'll meet with the country's president. And
well, that, folks, is the footage that we've all seen so far so many times. About 3 years ago, Lester Holt sitting down with Vice President Kamala Harris and asking, are you going to the border? And her smug, snide, sniveling remark about, I haven't been to Europe either. I don't understand. I can't understand what your question is. The reason she can't understand what the question is because we have a vice president who is a little, I would say, slow, retarded, maybe, I guess would be a good word to use. I mean, if our president, Joe Biden, is dementiated, that's right, I use that word, senile dementiated, what do we call our vice president who can't answer a simple little question? The reason is she doesn't want to answer the question. She doesn't want to go down to the border because then she would have to address the problem and she would have to talk about it. And then she could be saying, well, you were at the border, Madam Vice President. What are you going to do about it? But instead, she can hide in her little hole and say, I'm studying the root causes of what's going on with immigration, migration, immigrants, illegal, legal. I'm studying the root causes. I've got piles of books. I've got papers. I've got articles that are telling me what's going on. I can learn from those. Well, guess what, folks? How at times they have changed. Kamala Harris starting to try to see if she can pull some political feathers out of her derriere. All of a sudden now is saying that she's going to go down to the border. 3.5 years later, folks, she's going down the border. You want to see the mental gymnastics that our Democratic surrogates are using right now? Folks, let's see the CNN panel and how they start talking about weaving this into Kamala's trying to make her good fortune, trying to pull a political rabbit out of her derriere. Folks, let's go this round table. You tell me after you see it and hear it, what are your thoughts? What are your comments? You're watching the Dr. Nasser Sheikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasser. Let's get into the CNN panel right now.
To the border on Friday during her trip to Arizona. She's hoping to change the narrative that she's soft on immigration. A new poll shows that more than half of Americans believe that Trump would be better on the issue. A trip to the border.
Folks, let's just take a look at that real quick. Just go back here and take a look at this number. You're telling me, folks, I mean, you tell me, folks, 21 points. Registered voters, 21 points. The margin of error is 3.1. This is NBC News survey. You're damn straight she needs to get to the border. Run to the border.
The issue. A trip to the border, good idea, bad idea?
Good idea. Do it all. I mean, I don't have any objection to that. I think that at the end of the day, I think that people, when they have a question about substantive policy, when it comes to immigration, I mean, there's only one person who's actually serious about passing immigration law. And what I have to remind people is like
Donald Trump, right? Backery? Good old Backery, trying to sell us. He's trying to sell us something there, Backery. Good old Backery. He's trying to sell us something.
conjunction junction. You remember how a bill became a law? Conjunction
What's your
junction.
function?
What's your function? Yeah. And so, like, of course, she had a policy position on immigration. But Senator Langford, I do believe, was the senator who put up one of the toughest immigration bills that we've seen. It went through conjunction junction in the United States House of Representatives and Senate, and the person that killed it was Donald Trump. Is it what Kamala Harris wishes? No.
That's not completely accurate. That
What's
bill was
not
never
compl-
brought
are
up.
you-
That bill was never brought up in the House. That bill was only brought up in the
Why was it not brought up in the House is the question.
because that focused more on the process to bring people into the United States versus
Yes.
securing the
And
border.
who made the phone calls to the members of the United States House of
hold on,
Representatives?
Hold on. Okay. The bill addressed border security. It actually had a proposal to quote unquote shut down the border
When they
if
hit a certain
crossings
number
got
of
to a
Well, why didn't they do that later in the earlier three and a half years earlier, Abby? That's what I'd like to ask you. If that was the case, and it was a bill that he basically brought to thing to shut down the border 3.5 years later, why did he do it 3.5 years earlier? You're only addressing the issue now because guess what? The presidency is on the line. That's why. And it did have provisions to allow for more border agents, for more judges, for money that's earmarked for what? Not to prevent the influx of illegal immigration. No, it was there to allow, to help speed up the process of those illegals that were at the border once they were detained, to allow them to come forth into the country. As long as they were seen by a border agent and got their little piece of paper stamped that said, oh, you know what? Yeah, 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, come on over to a meeting. You know, we'll see whether or not you're legal. That's what's going on here. That was in the border. That's why it was squashed. Not because of the other bullshit that you're talking about.
thousands a day.
That was a Republican idea that the White House adopted.
And Republicans can disagree with it.
It addressed it, but I mean, it addressed both sides of it. A lot of Democrats hated it, but Republicans hated it more. And here we are. So
Look, we argue about this bill all the time. We are where we are. We showed the poll. She's down on this issue. Going to the border is not going to fix that. I don't know if you all have seen the video. There's this amazing video of her from a couple of years ago out chanting, down with mass deportation. Doug was right behind her chanting along. I mean, her views on this are so obvious. Going to rallies and chanting, running on it in 2019, 2020. I mean, we know where she is on immigration vis-a-vis Donald Trump. Going to the border is not going to change that. The American people are going to see him as tough on it, tougher than she will ever want to be on it. They don't trust Democrats on this issue because of the last 3.5 years, the day one executive orders, and then waiting until the shadow of an election to try to pay some lip service to it. It's not going to work.
Scott, I don't disagree with.
That's exactly what I said. Exactly. And Scott hit it right on the effing head. Right on the effing head, he hit it. Now they're sounding the alarm. Now they're ringing the bell. The American people, although these people like Bakari and the people on CNN, MSDNC, which is actually MSLSD, the delusional network, never been conservative NBC, anything but conservative ABC, the Cabal Broadcasting System, CBS, the Alphabet Networks, legacy media, the acolytes in education, academia, and Hollywood. These people are never going to understand that what flyover country is basically telling them is giving them the double freaking finger and saying, F off. We've had freaking enough. We've had enough of the people coming over the border illegally. We've had enough of the people that are coming illegal over the border and killing American citizens, American children, American husbands, American wives, American daughters, American sons, American uncles, American aunts. And in many cases, these illegal aliens are killing other illegals as well. And those illegals aren't talking about it or bringing it about because they're afraid for their lives as well. And so now, on the precipice of a United States presidential election, all of a sudden now, Kamala Harris is answering the question that Lester Holt asked her 3.5 freaking years ago. Have you gone to the freaking border? I haven't gone to Europe either. I wonder where that smug answer is at right now. Bakari, can you tell us?
With some of the things you said about lip service or how it's going to play out. But I do want you to understand the simple fact is that Kamala Harris is the person who's actually saying that she will sign a piece of legislation. The Republican Party
bullshit
people such as Marco Rubio, the Gang of Eight. Have we not been here before? That they literally excommunicated from their party for trying to come together on comprehensive immigration.
I think that this is
Nobody
and
believes she's
one
going
of
to be
this-
tougher.
One of the things about this moment, I mean, the Harris campaign has just been trying to kind of float above it all, to float above the immigration arguments, float above, some of the nitty.
That's because they're all high, Abby. They're all high on joy. They're all high on Oprah. That's why they're floating above it all, honey.
Gritty details on some of this policy, but this shows that they realize they have to do something. One of the other things that happened today, though, is that we got some crime statistics showing crime is down. Again, this was also going to be something that Trump wanted to run on Harris against, but the statistics are what they are.
Yeah,
They're bullshit
you said in the last
statistics.
segment, even though you said vibes don't necessarily win election, I do think that vibes very much contribute to how people feel about issues, whether it be real or whether it be imagined. And the reality is, in most people's minds, they feel like crime is out of control. Like, I'll take my city where I'm from, Detroit, as an example. When I was growing up, the level of crime in Detroit, I mean, Detroit was always in the top 3.
Jamel, the stupid ass hill. Crime is down. Tell that to the hundreds, if not thousands, of American families that have lost their loved ones to the evilness that has been perpetrated by the illegal aliens, the MS-13 gang members, and anybody else that's crossed the border that has committed a violent offense, sexual, murder, armed robbery, battery, extortion, rape, drugs. Tell that to even a single parent or a single family member who has lost loved ones to illegal aliens. Jamel, God, you make me sick.
As being one of the most murderous cities in America. 600-700 murders a year, easy. It's maybe half that now, okay?
Ooh,
I realize the
wow.
population has decreased, and that's part of it, but the approach to safety is so much better than it used to be.
Oh,
but
God,
unfortunately,
yeah.
between social media and people passing around violent videos all the time, no matter what those statistics say, I still think it roots in people's minds that crime is just out of
It's
control.
true.
And I think we're
I think
much
too-
safer as a society today than we were when I was growing up.
So I think to
Jamel, you are so full of shit, it's not even believable, the verbal diarrhea that comes out of your mouth. God, you people are absolutely freaking insane.
your point regarding social media, it's very easy to share a violent video. Those things move very quickly across the internet. But these FBI statistics leave room for questions because there are a lot of cities, major cities like Los Angeles, that are not providing that information.
I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but because we looked this up. I've
Mm-hmm.
heard this before. The FBI addressed this today. Those major cities now are reporting their crime statistics. So,
But they
the
didn't
numbers,
in 23 on these numbers. When you go to the
so-
FBI website, they're not there,
Well, let me-
especially for homicides in LA.
Let me answer what you're saying.
God almighty, Abby, the people fact check, and they fact check false crap all the time. So now we're going to find out that they didn't put in the statistics for 2023. And in many of those other statistics, guess what? They're changing what could be a felony or a misdemeanor. And they're not putting anything in terms of race or ethnicity or heritage or background or anything that's happening with those. They're just mixing it up with the white population. These statistics, we're going to trust the FBI now? We can't even trust the FBI with protecting the president, the Secret Service, the DOJ. You're telling us to believe them? Is that what you're actually asking us to do, Abby? I'm going to have a freaking coronary, okay, listening to this crap.
So now they do. Los Angeles,
Now
New York,
they
all
do.
of the major cities, any city with over 1 million
Bullshit.
people, those police departments report into these statistics.
No, they
And
are
in
not.
Past years, they reported them, but the FBI did not include them because of a reporting
I just
issue.
said.
But if you look in the report, they talk about the past trends. They include that data now from those past years. The trend is still going down. So crime is going down.
But in a city
It's
like
been-
DC,
it's been
the most recent crime data from DC, there have been 274 murders. It's up 35%. Robbery, you're looking at up 67%. Some of these major cities, crime
Fact checked, Abby. Fact checked.
is still an issue, and people are still seeing the videos because that crime is happening.
I was a
that
longtime
I
DC
think-
resident, so I understand what you're saying. But overall,
But,
for the country and for most major cities, it's
I have 2 points. I actually think you're, like hammer meat, nail on head. I think you're right. And I think Scott's right. I think Jamil's right as well. I think that Democrats for
Is that Democrats? Everybody's right. Everybody's right. Statistics are down. Statistics are up. Everybody's right. You're all right. The right is right. The left is right.
a long period of time, we put our head in the sand when it came to issues of crime, right? We talked about it in the way that you should, being smart about crime, but we didn't necessarily address the way that people feel about it. Like my mom would always say that I don't want less police officers. That's why people chose Joe Biden in the 2020 primary, because nobody wanted to defund the police, not Democratic voters. They just wanted.
Are you absolutely freaking kidding me, Bakari? Nobody wanted to defend the police? What the hell was BLM? We're not that stupid. You've got to be absolutely freaking kidding me. This guy, nobody, how do these guys come up with this revisionist history, folks? I mean, nobody. This guy is telling us that nobody wanted to defund the police. No, we were just listening wrong. That was just an illusion. That was a delusion. Amazing.
Better police, right? It wasn't about taking police off the street. or
No.
defunding them. They wanted me to be able to come home safely while police were out there patrolling the neighborhoods. And so I think everybody at this table is correct that this is a serious issue that you can no longer put your head in the sand about. But I think that there are different ways in which you go about doing it. Like, for example,
Here it comes.
Being smart on crime, being a prosecutor,
Oh, my
prosecuting
God.
drug rings, human trafficking is one thing. Donald Trump abusing the law and then saying he wants to give law enforcement, particularly to black men watching this. All right? Donald Trump is somebody who says he wants to give immunity to law enforcement officers regardless of the act that they commit. Do you know how patently absurd that is? And so you have differences on policy. But the fact is, and it's a good question, and I'm glad, I think we all agree, crime is a very serious issue. It's who do you want to challenge?
Wow, Bakari. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know that back. Just thank you for, illuminating us with your knowledge. With this unbelievable idea that we can acknowledge that crime is bad for us. I had no freaking idea, Bakari, till today. You being here on CNN, educating us. What are you thinking? That was all just ignorant? We're all ignorant people here? So you give us the sage advice. We can all agree that crime is indeed bad. Oh, wow. Put that down in quotes, folks. Bakari Seller says that crime is bad.
That serious issue.
I think this is multifaceted.
Can you agree?
And I
chime in and agree.
No, we're well past that. Harris has some holes in her record. I mean, I think she tried to bail violent people out of jail before. She raised money for that. That's number one. Number two, she called for police to be taken out of schools.
Bingo.
Number three, she has advocated in the past for decriminalizing illegal immigration.
Bingo.
People come across. And so she has once again, we're back to the same conversation. What is her record? What are her public statements? What actions has she taken? And then what is she running towards in the shadow of an election? Which just makes me suspect that she wants to be tough on crime.
I hear you, and I hear you. And if I was Kamala Harris standing on stage beside Scott Jennings, what I would say is that you can't. But I'm definitely some lightweight. You don't worry.
Oh, maybe you could, Bakari. Why don't you just call yourself a woman, since your party says a man can become a woman? So if you want to, you can tout yourself as being okay, Kamala Harris. Absolutely. And stand next to Scott Jennings and say that you're a woman and you happen to be running for vice president. And that's what and then give us your pronouns and that you're Kamala Harris. I mean, you can do that. That's what the Democratic Party says, right? You can be anybody that you want to be.
So what I would simply say is you have to look at her record as district attorney. You have to look
Oh
at her
my
record
God.
as attorney general. This isn't someone who hasn't prosecuted these people and locked these people up. This is a serious candidate with a serious law enforcement record. And as for sheriffs in schools, right now we're at a point we have to have that because we have mental health issues. We also have a gun problem. And so
here we go.
Republicans want to come to the table and talk about the fact that every single school shooting we've had that we talk about involves a semi-automatic or automatic rifle, and we should put a ban on those weapons. Then we don't really we can't meet in the middle.
But
There
you
is no
admit,
automatic
that
weapon.
her past rhetoric would call into question how tough she wants to be. I mean, people are weighing this like, here she was here she is. Like, what am I supposed to believe?
That's the 25% of voters right now who are saying, I don't know where she stands, and so I can't make a decision because what they've seen before, what she's saying now, and what her past is, whether it's on crime, the economy, immigration, whatever, they've seen what she said before, they've seen where she's trying to say she is now, and that's why.
Wow. You know what? When you watch these panels, it's just so hard to not get upset when you hear race baiters, race haters, race traders like Bakari Sellers and Jamel Hill, who have made their money, folks, made their money on deceiving the community, the black community that they purport to be champions of, that they purport to be on the side of. But they have made their dark money on being race haters, race traders, and race baiters. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that at all. I can take out my Republican political card deck, and I can throw it out at Jamel Hill, and I can say, there's the R card, you racist. There's the B card, you bigot. Oh, Bakari, by the way, I'm going to deal you an R card, racist, and a B card, bigot. I can do the very same thing that these guys have been shoveling out for decades against conservatives and Republicans and anybody else who doesn't fall into their plantation. Because what they want is duped, folks. D-U-P-E-D, an acronym. D-U-P-E-D. Bakari Sellers and Jamel Hill, they want to be the overlords of the Democratic utopian plantation for the expansion of dependency. That's what dupe stands for. And the intersectionality of every single group in America, you name a group, it'll be sliced and diced and put on a plantation. And the Democrats want to control it. And they don't care what they have to do it, as long as that voting bloc is controlled, whether it be black, brown, Asian, Latino, Hispanic, Muslim, Jewish, Catholic, Christian, whatever it is, transgender, gay, lesbian, LGBTQIA, MOUSE, whatever plantation they put you on, they want to sell you on it. And they want to sell you on it so you stay there just enough to give you so you don't leave. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasser Sheikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasser. If you've done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow. You all know what to do. Take a look at our links that pop up, I believe, here and here. My final thought is always, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.